Right, welcome back to the Ottawa studios of Inside My Canoe Head. I am your host, Dr. D. Today, we are talking about that hard decision to change. It's great to talk about everything. It's great to think about everything. But at some point, you got to make the decision to change. So sit back, grab yourself your favorite beverage. Let's get at it. And thanks again for joining us here. Listen, we all heard it everywhere we go. The internet is flooded with a whole bunch of ideas. Just make the change, get up tomorrow morning, rewrite your life, and go. But the reality is, and you and I know this, right? You look at that incredible person in the mirror. You and I know this, that making some significant changes in life is hard. It's the same when I talk about preparedness, when I talk about building resilience, when I talk about adopting a prepared life. It is a fundamental switch some people have to flip. It is not a simplistic, easy overnight, get up in the morning and get after it and do something like a 75 hard and transform your life. We know that, you know that. But so how do we make that hard decision to change? How do we go through a process that leads us to where we need to be or where we want to be? And that's the subject today. And I think this is really important to me because part of the journey I'm going to talk about today is my journey. Part of this is not just telling you a series of steps that are logically there for you to go through, but I wanted you to take along the journey I made. How I chose to change my life, how I chose to wake up one day and then do something about the somewhat disastrous course that my life was on. And I think the first thing that we always have to start with whenever we talk about, life sucks sometimes and it's tough and it's challenging and we feel at times like we're pushing a rope uphill. It doesn't matter what we do, it just seems the laundry pile doesn't get smaller. The dust doesn't go away. The inflation keeps bringing prices up, and no matter what cuts you make, it just doesn't seem to get where you need to be. The hard choice to change is difficult, but it first starts with an honest, no poop assessment. Are you happy with your life? Really that simple. Is everything the way you wish? And I don't know of very many people, though I do know a few, who can answer that question today and say that everything that is going on in my life is as I want it to be. And other than the bumps that are beyond my control and I adjust around those, everything is doing exactly as I want it to. So when you ask that question, that's a generalist question. Is everything right? Well, probably not, but what does that mean? That's very generalist. If you bring it down a notch and you think about it, are you happy in the mirror? And I've said this in many a times before. One of the most honest and self-reflection times you can have is to stand buck naked in front of the mirror, right? Obviously, in front of a room if that's your thing. But the reality is to stand privately on your own, not for a quick second, but take a good, long, hard look at what's in the mirror. Are you happy? Because it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. Are you happy? Do you look healthy? Do you look like you're in command and control of your life? The same thing when you do the long, hard look at your bank account and your banking portfolio. Right? When you look at your investment account, your retirement account, your savings account, your emergency fund, or for 98.76% of the listeners, the single checking account that is very near overdraft every month, right? Are you happy with that? When you think about your professional life, what you do to earn an income, wherever that may be, how is that going for you? Not just are you making great money, because a lot of people make great money and hate what they're doing, but they're tied into this really expensive life. I know a lot of senior officers when I was in the military that absolutely led horrible lives. I mean, they were making $150K or more, all kinds of bells and whistles and badges and buttons all over the uniforms, but they hated it, but they were so tied to the identity that they weren't willing to give up to the identity and go do what they wanted to do. And the last really important part is your relationships, right? Are your relationship with your spouse, your significant other, your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it may be, your situationship, I think this is something I hear lately. Are you happy with that? Is that going where it is? And this is really kind of where we start. And it's a really interesting phrase that this is what really got my goat and got me starting on this. Is somebody told me, do you swing your legs out of bed in the morning, excited with the opportunities that are there? Do you crawl into bed at night with anticipation of the interesting, amazing adventures that tomorrow holds? Do you live that kind of life, or do you dread having to get up and rinse and repeat every day? And for me, that was, no, I actually don't. I don't swing my legs out of bed in the morning. I hate getting out of bed. At the time, I didn't like getting out of bed. I didn't like the job that I was in. I didn't like the environment that I was working in. It was in today's word, you would call it a toxic work environment. But the end result was I just didn't want to do this anymore. But I was so tied financially to the mortgage and the car payments and the RV payments and the pension plan and everything else that it was like, what is a guy supposed to do in that situation? No, tomorrow didn't have any opportunities. Tomorrow had a cubicle, 600 freaking emails, and a bunch of useless meetings that then themselves all could have been an email. That was what I swung out of my bed in the morning to do. And it wasn't swinging out of bed. It was dragging my arse after 3 snoozes. I don't know how many. Maybe you're in that position. But so how do you design a life you don't need a vacation to escape from? Now, we've all heard that, but okay. And this is what got me thinking, right? I can't wait for vacations. I can't wait for the weekends. Why do you spend the weekends escaping the life you have? Why don't you spend the weekends figuring out and developing the life you want? And this is what ticked. How do I do it? It's not that I didn't know really what I wanted to do, but how? How do I make that hard choice to make the change? How do you design a life you don't need to escape a vacation from? And the first and the hardest part is deciding enough is enough. I mean, we're all somewhat frustrated and angry with the world we live. We're frustrated in our relationships. We're frustrated in a lot of places. But really, at some point, only you can look in the mirror and say enough is enough. That's it. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else can do it for you. You have to look in the mirror and say, this is it. But the acknowledging part was it, and I'll tell you this from my experience, it is far more challenging than most people acknowledge. We're all frustrated at some part of aspects of who we are and what we do, etc. But are we willing to do anything specific and constructive to overcome? Are we willing to make a change, or are we content to complain and carry on? Because there's a standard there. And we all around it, we complain, we bitch, we whine about the lives we had, the price in the grocery store, the price of gas, the political decisions, Tom and his sandwiches in the fridge at work, whatever it may be. We complain to whine, but we don't actually do anything. There's a standard there, and we become comfortable with living a world of complaining and whining, but there's a point at which you come where enough is enough. Now, we've heard all these conversations before, and they've been framed with motivation, right? Just get motivated and hop out of bed and chase your dreams. Or discipline. Discipline is the art of doing things every day that you don't want to do. I don't want to do this, but I have the discipline. Sure, let's just flick that magical switch in me arse and get me going. Morning routines. We're told that everybody, all we have to do is create this, 3-step morning routine that probably starts at a 4:30 wake-up call, and everything will be fixed. We'll be rock solid, beautiful, wonderful people. Or minimalism. Maybe it's the fact that I have too much stuff in my house and I have to turf it all into the garbage can, get down to, X number of possessions it may be, etc. Voluntary simplicity. This is where you dumb your life down. Not dumb your life down. That's the wrong way to phrase it. Sorry, I apologize to people who believe in it because I followed this for a little bit. Voluntary simplicity is what got me into it. It realized that I had the right, and I also had the responsibility to simplify my life. I was involved in 27.5 different things, Every one of them, but a handful of them, were voluntary. Simplification. We've been told that if we just simplify everything around us, life will be better. Or as Tim Ferriss, we're told a 4-hour work week is all we need, and we can outsource everything to MBAs in India, and they can do all the work for pennies on the dollar. Everyone has a recipe for you, but does everyone else's ideas fit what you want? Do you know what you want? And this is where we came up with the recipe for preparedness. We understood that if I sat here and I gave you a downloadable PDF, and I have one on my website at preparednesslabs.ca, it's a guide to start. But if I developed a 127-step process for you to follow to adopt a prepared life, that's not going to fit your family. That's not. It's not going to fit the idiosyncrasies of your family, all of your dynamics, your health concerns, the location you live in, the hazard profile you're exposed to, your friendships, your state of relationships, the power and the strength of your social capital. There are so many variables in developing personal and family resilience through adopting a preparedness strategy that there is no downloadable format. And this was the part that really tweaked me when I made the switch and I decided that, you know what? No one's coming to help. No one is showing up to flip the switch. No one is showing up at my front door and saying, come on, Jeff, it's time for you to go do X, Y, Z. Nobody's doing that, and nobody can. Nobody is coming to help. So the only person that can decide whether enough is you. And you got to get to that point where you're tired of complaining about things you're tired of. And maybe you're not there, and that's fabulous. But if you're there, if you're tired of complaining about things that you're tired of, how do you do this? Well, the first thing is to understand where you want to go. Now, listen, we all want to be on a beach, or most of us want to be on a beach somewhere with constant 22-degree temperature in Roatan, in the Caribbean, and just basically living our lives and doing, $10,000 a day digital nomad stuff on a laptop. Okay, fair enough. Great dream. Nothing wrong with that. Dreams get us to where we need to be at times in life. But the reality is, you're probably like me. You were probably 1 or 2 car payments. You had a mortgage. You weren't quite have reached your pensionable age, whatever that may be, or your own personal retirement account was not at the point it needed to be to quit your job. So that's the issue that we face, right? I mean, you're not ready to go. You can't quit your job. You can't run away. You can't sell everything and go down south. Well, you might be able to, but your spouse probably doesn't want to do that, right? Or they may not have the same vision or idea that you do. It's very hard to persuade somebody to go along a journey with you if you don't know what that journey is. And I'm telling you this individually. What is your vision board? And this is what worked for me. Now, if you've been following Inside My Canoe Head since we started in April of 2020, we are coming up on our 4th anniversary. The 28th of April will be the 4th anniversary of the release of our first podcast episode. I think we're at 255 or 256 now. The whole idea is that I'm a whiteboard guy. I love a whiteboard. I live by the whiteboard. I was a nerd in school. And when I mean nerd in school, I mean a 47-year-old PhD candidate taking the bus to work every day at the university, and I was carrying a 4-foot by 3-foot whiteboard. Yeah, that kind of nerd. So whiteboards are key for me because I can put stuff down, I can visualize it, and then I can erase it. And it's gone. And unlike a digital photograph, which can always be recovered, or a digital note on Apple Notes that some tech wizard can always dig up, or a piece of paper that can be unraveled from the garbage, my vision that I write for me and me only on my whiteboard is never found, right? That's just my vision. So why a vision board? So what a vision board talks about you, it talks about people, and it talks about work. Really the 3 spheres of influence that a human has in the world. It's about you as a human being. It's about the people you interact with, because we're sociable, gregarious species. We require to interact with other people, both spouses, children, relationships, friends, colleagues, whatever they may be. And work. We have some type of professional calling. Now, when you retire like I did after 28 years in Her Majesty's service, and I go on to a second career, I still have work. right? We do have to work. And even if I transitioned to non-profit and did everything for free, I would still have a rationale and reason for getting up every day. So we express that as your physical, your mental, and your financial health. That's how you describe you. That's you in a nutshell. Then we talk about your leisure, because that's you as well, right? Well, you have 4 parts to you, which is your physical, your mental, your financial health, and your leisure. That is your ability to interact with the world. And when we talk about it in preparedness, we talk about it very much in that if you take the effort to invest in yourself as a human being, you will be far more capable to interact with the outside world. You'll be far more capable to react to chaotic, unprovoked situations that happen around you, right? Like, for example, if you're 100 pounds overweight, can you pull yourself out of a pool? Can you literally with your upper body strength, pull your arse out of the pool if there is no ladder? Can you do that? If you fall off a bridge but you're hanging by a rope, do you have the physical strength to pull yourself up that rope to recover yourself? Or are you just going to hang there because you don't have the physical strength to do that? When you have control of your mental health and anxiety, and what I mean is management. Nobody has 100% control. We all get a little emotional at times. We are emotional human beings. It's normal. But do you have emotional intelligence, which means you can, in chaotic situations, manage your anxiety and fear so that you have the ability to execute tasks which must be done? And in your financial health, remember, the number one rule for life on the face of this earth is don't be a burden to society, right? So it's actually your job to take care of yourself. Now, if you've taken on more responsibilities like a family and children, etc., you now have responsibility to take care of them. It's not somebody else's job to pay your bills for you. That's yours. It's not the government's. It's not your family's. That's your responsibility. So when we express it like that, and then leisure, I think, is an undervalued aspect of when you get leisure time. And some of us don't have a lot and some of us have a great deal, but do you actually pursue the things you love and do the things you do, right? I mean, we've all seen those TikTok memes that, my golf clubs make this weird sound when I pick them up. And the guy picks up the golf club and the club's rattling and then his wife in the other room yells, "What the hell are you doing?" Or the guy cracks the beer can and then the reaction of his spouse to that is, "What the hell are you doing?" Or something along that lines. I think they're hilarious. And then we think about your friends and associates, your relationships that you have around you and your professional life, what you do for a living. And this is your vision board. This was my starting point. When I got to the point, and everybody's trigger point or trigger event will be different. I can't say when it'll happen. Mine was when I realized I was tired. I was emotionally and physically exhausted to the core of my system. And I'm hoping you can understand what I mean. And I know some of you out there get it. When you are so emphatically, totally to the tip of your toes, to the top of your hair follicle, you are so tired and exhausted, you don't have the energy to grind it out another couple of months. Like, you're done. I'm done. How many times you walk around and say, "I'm done, I'm finished, I can't do this anymore"? When I was at that point, and I think it's really that point we all have to get to in our own minds, when I realized this can't continue. For my mental health and my physical health, this can't continue. Something has to change. And so I came across a Simon Sinek, fabulous individual. If you read his books, I think it's called The Why or something like that. Anyhow, it is a brilliant expose on how to inwardly look and understand how to take control of your life. But the end result was I took out my vision board, which was my whiteboard, and I literally wrote down on the right-hand side then and on the left-hand side now in 2 columns. And then I had 7 areas I concentrated on, and I wrote these down. I wrote physical. I wrote mental. I wrote financial. I wrote leisure. I wrote immediate family, friends and associates, and then I wrote professional life. And the end result was each one of these were the 7 pieces. They're really the 3 pieces I talked about before, you, people, and work. But I expanded them out to these 7, which for me made sense. Maybe some of these don't for you, but this is my story. And so I had the 7 written on the whiteboard, and I went through each one of them. And I was realistic to the extent, like, yeah, physical. I'd love to be able to do 150 push-ups. I want to have 7% body fat, and I want every woman to walk by to drop her drink because I'm so amazingly handsome. Then we had to be realistic. My physical goal was simply I didn't want to be in pain anymore. I wanted to be able to eat food and not have a whole bunch of problems associated with it. I wanted to be able to go through the day, normal day and fun and activity and going around and doing things without being tired. I wanted to look good in the mirror, which for me at 5'11" means I should probably weigh about 175 pounds, right? So look around the world, look at all the 6-foot tall men, and they should weigh about 180. That's how much a 6-foot tall man should weigh. And then that'll give you an idea as to whether that the people around you are healthy or not. That's what I just wanted to be healthy. I'm 53 years old. I wanted to live long. My mental health. I wanted to no longer live in a world where I feared going to work, where I was anxious about going to work, and where I didn't like it, or where I was worried about the next freaking bomb that would go off in life, in something or another would go wrong to cause another level of stress and anxiety on me. I just wanted to get up every day looking forward to my day, whatever that day may happen. I didn't want to be all that specific. I just wanted to have the mental health that I went to bed at night happy and joyful, had a great day, and that I get up the next day because I had some interesting opportunities to do, and I was surrounded by people I love. And I just deal with emotional intelligence as the life as it throws at you, but I just didn't want to have any constant stressors in my life. Financial. Basically, I had to learn, and I was not doing it at the time, I had to learn to spend less than I earn. It's really a mathematical, it's the one and only rule of money. If you always spend less than you earn, you will never need savings. It's really that simple. If you make $100 a week, spend less than 100 and you'll be perfectly fine. If you want to spend more than 100, you have to earn more than 100. But right now what people are doing, and what I was doing, was running up lines of credit, running up credit cards, because I wanted to live beyond the means I had. Right? Instead of doing the work to earn more money to live that way, I just used credit to replace hard work. Right? So if I made $5,000 a month, I lived on a $6,000 a month lifestyle. Right? I borrowed the other grand. It's really easy on a credit card. You get $35,000 limit. I can run up that $1,000 a month lifestyle for a couple of years before the size of that credit card bill starts to get a little exceptional and crazy, and the monthly payments, the interest start to eat up that extra $1,000. You know where I'm going with this, right? And then it starts to become a problem. I just wanted to live a simple, comfortable life where I could do the things I wanted to do without having to worry about what was in the bank. Really simple. Leisure. I'm a simple guy. I love to golf. I love to backcountry paddle. I hunt. I fish. And that's pretty much it. I like to travel to warm beaches in the winter. That's all I do. But I love those things. But I wanted to be able to do them and not just talk about them. An immediate family. I'm fortunate. I'm married to my best friend that I married when I was 20 years old. And my 2 sons, one's grown and left, and one's grown and working on his professional career. I just love my immediate family, and I wanted the time in my life to spend time with them, to watch them grow and make interesting decisions. Friends and associates, I don't have a big friend circle, and I don't want one, right? And I quote Andrew Tate here when he says, you really only need a very, very small group of friends, probably 3 to 5. The rest of the world, lots of acquaintances, lots of colleagues, lots of people I know, but you really only need 3 to 5 friends. That's it. And associates, you know what? I love meeting new people. And since I moved into this world of preparedness about a decade ago, I've met a whole slew of wonderful, interesting people. And I wanted to keep positive relationships with them. And I thought that was important. And professional life, when I was looking at the whiteboard, and remember, this At this time, I am emotionally stressed to the nines. I can barely get through the day, and I want to scream and yell at everything. And I'm looking at the board trying to figure out what it is that I want to do to earn an income. I have to earn an income. I need money, right? Mortgage and all that other stuff. What does it look like? What did I want to do? And so I laid it out. For me, I wanted to be a part-time professor. I wanted to try my hand at being an entrepreneur, and I wanted to be an author, right? And so I wanted to publish book. I wanted to teach part-time at the graduate level, and I wanted to start an entrepreneurial business in the preparedness space. So here we are. That's what I put on the board. What I put on the board was not the world I was living in, right? But I had reached my I'm tired of being tired point, the total body exhaustion to where your fingernails freaking hurt. And I hope you understand. And if you've been there, you know exactly the state I'm talking about. When there's nothing left in the barn, the pail is empty, you're finished, you can't move forward, and you just don't understand how this struggle carries on, you need hope. And the vision board for me was hope. So I could express in a logical and reasonable way what my world looked like. I write it down on my whiteboard. But the key to all of this is to be honest, right? You have to be honest with what it is you're trying to achieve and where you want to be and what your ideal life would be. Because if it's all about Lamborghinis in Dubai, I think that's great. But you're going to go back tomorrow and think that to be such an insurmountable obstacle and barrier that you can't do that. And you hear these people all the time. Well, yeah, I do that, but you know what? That's too hard. It's too much. I don't have the 1 million followers that they do on Twitter. I couldn't become an influencer. It's just too hard for too hard for them, or too easy for them, too hard for me. There are people who will sit there and they'll spend the entire day telling you a list of reasons why they can't, until they get to a point where they can't do anything else. Then they have to start looking for hope. Now, how did I break that barrier? Well, how do you eat an elephant, my friends? You eat an elephant piece by piece. And what I did is I decided out of those 7 things, I couldn't quit my job. I had to look that right in the face and say, and be honest with myself, I can't quit my job because I have financial requirements. That's the last thing to go. And I know it's not what everybody says online. This is what worked for me. This is what worked for me. The job is the last thing I quit. It was the last thing I quit. I addressed everything else before I quit my job. The reason being is I still need to pay my bills. I love my family. I don't want my home foreclosed. I don't want the cars towed out of the driveway. I'd like to meet together a vacation, and I'd still like to pay for my son's hockey. So I couldn't quit if I didn't have this magical job to go to. And right now, no matter what the economy is, there's never a magical job to go through. The grass is likely not greener on the other side. As the saying goes, if you think the grass is greener on the other side, try watering it on your side. But I couldn't quit my job. So number one, I knew that right from the get-go, that I couldn't make that kind of drastic move, and I never call for that drastic move. For me, that was not a logical thing to do. What was within my control? That was the next thing. What could I fix without anybody's help? Because remember, I love my wife, I love my family, I love my friends. Nobody's coming to help. Nobody's going to fix this for me. I'm the only guy who's going to fix this. I'm looking at the handsome dude in the mirror, knowing that I'm the only one coming to the rescue, right? So how do I rescue with this chaotic life? Because remember, I'm still exhausted. I'm still worn out. I'm still beat down. How do I do this? I pick one thing, and just one. The first thing I did was mental health, by far. I knew that if my mental health was calm and clearer than it is now, then I would be able to focus on the other things and not be buried. So what I did is I sat down and I made a list. And the list was all of the organizations and things I was involved in and all of the people that I was involved in my life. And I looked at the organizations, and it was a long, hard look. They had to go. The vast majority of them had to go. It didn't matter if I was on the supper club, the committee club, an assistant coach of something, volunteering with the local Red Cross committee. I was in the gardening club. It doesn't matter. It had to go. I had to take the burden off my mind, and I had to take the burden off my calendar. So I parked all of that to the side. I basically quit everything but 1 or 2 organizations, and I think there was 7 or 8 that I had to basically contact, phone up, or send an email saying, I'm sorry, effective immediately. I'm going to have to resign my position as a secretary or whatever. Right? Done. I had to quit. These were voluntary. None of these organizations paid the bills, but they occupied time and effort. The next thing I did, and this was a little harder thing, but I think it was the real turning point, is I fired toxic people. And this is a topic some people disagree with, and I love that. I fired toxic people. So I had a laundry list of the people that I associated with that I had a voluntary choice. So if it was my boss, I can't fire my boss, right? So all of the people that I interacted with, from family to friends to associates that I would not legally be required to interact with, which one of them's on balance were drama queens and drama kings. They're gone. I literally fired family members, like close family members. I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm done talking to you. And this wasn't the Walmart greeter kind of thing, pick up the phone and give them this grand old scheme. No, because nobody was there to help me. I just stopped talking to them. I just stopped returning their tweets. I didn't answer their phone calls. When they send me a text message, I usually answered it 24 to 36 hours later. That's when I engaged with them. That was it. I had no other interest. And when I did that, some of them just drifted off, so obviously I wasn't that important. Some of them kind of figure out what's going on, dude, whatever. And then when I just basically kicked them to the curb and they were gone. Once I understood that I had the power to control things that brought stressors. So remember, the way I viewed the key to mental health was controlling things that bring stress into your life, because you can't control it all. You can't remove 100% of the stress from your life. Some of it occurs, and so what I could control, it went. And when I was done that, and I realized I had control of that, then I went to the physical health. Then I realized that I'm the only one shoving things in my pie hole, which means I'm the only one who can choose what to stuff downrange. And so I made the choice to just eat healthy. I just made the choice to eat food. Now, it wasn't a vegan, a paleo, a keto, a carnivore, whatever type of diet. I just ate food. Food has a singular ingredient, right? And I walked. No, I tried a gym for a couple of weeks. I'm not a gym guy. Join the gym if that's your thing. I'm not a gym guy, okay? I was 236 pounds at 5'11", and I should weigh 185 or 175, so I was significantly overweight. So I tried the gym. I'm not a gym guy. I don't know how to explain it. I don't feel good in the gym. I don't feel confident in a gym. I'm not relaxed in a gym. I don't want to get up in the day and go to the gym. So I just walked. I just went for 30 minutes to 45 minutes every day for a walk. I started eating food, anything that had one ingredient: vegetables, meat, fruits, nuts, just food, actual food. And when you eat actual food that's not processed or highly or ultra processed food, you actually are full longer. And the weight started to fall off. As the weight fell off, I felt more and more confident, right? I started to sleep again. And as your physical world starts to come around, it helped my mental world coming around. I was now more confident. When I walked into a room, I wasn't worried whether anybody was looking at me. I could care less because I knew I looked good, I felt good, and it works on your self-confidence. And so the next for me was my financial life, right? Once I had my own arse sorted out, it was time to look at my money. And when I looked at my money, I realized that I can only control so little. I can fire everything and pull a Dave Ramsey move. And I've read all the books, the Dave Ramsey, the Tony Robbins, whatever it may be. The choice I made was to live below my means. To understand that the means I had was X. Say I made $10,000 a month. I lived a $9,000 a month lifestyle. Always below my means. So if I made $5,000 a month, I would have lived on a $4,500 a month lifestyle. I just cut. That's all I did. I didn't make any dramatic income changes at all. I just simply said, okay, if I have, say, $5,000 income after tax at home, I have to spend less than that. So I have to cut everything until I get below that. And I did. So I cut cable, cut home phone, cut subscriptions, canceled sport networks, and I canceled basically everything that I could until I got myself down below my income level, right? Because I was living beyond my means. I was spending more money than I earned, right? And so I changed my eating habits. I changed my leisure habits. I changed the vacation schedule. I changed everything I could until now, not only was I physically feeling better because I was walking and eating better, my mental health was better because I had free time for all of the commitments I dumped and got rid of toxic humans out of my life. I was now no longer stressed about money. Now, I was significantly in debt, right? That wasn't solved. This, you just don't cut and then everything's fine. I was significantly in debt. But what I did is I said, okay, I could go into pain and discomfort, increasing my anxiety and stress, and pay this off in 2 years. Or I could put it on a more expensive, but I saw mentally health 5-year plan. So I did. I threw all of my debt into one place and I spent 5 years paying it off. Could have paid it off sooner. But for me, it was about the stress level. It's about understanding and getting a grip on that and getting ahead of it. And then I went through everything else. And so I started playing golf again, right? I started going back on canoe trips again. I didn't do any of the other things. And people were doing other things like skiing and a bunch of other. No, I don't do that. Like, I define the leisure that I want to do. And so when I looked at the vision board and it said you want that you want to play golf and you want to canoe, well, then why aren't you golfing and canoeing? Why are you doing this other crap that other people do? Just do what you want to do, and if you have to do it alone. And that's what I realized, where I went for 3 years where I was doing nothing but solo backcountry canoe trips because nobody wanted to go with me, but I was not going to let that stop me from doing what I wanted. I was still going to chase my dreams and do what I wanted without that. So I did. And then friends and associates, a lot of people, when I left the Army, just went away. They just went away. That was the way of the world. They stopped talking. They stopped calling, whatever, and I wish them the best of luck in lives. But I don't chase anybody down. So I have a very, very small friendship group, great group of individuals, but I have a very small friendship group, and that's literally the end of it, right? Full stop. Then it was the professional life. Once I had everything else online. Now, it's never perfectly sorted, but everything is moving in the right direction. I'm confident I have it under control. I was from 236 down to 212 and on my way down below 200. I was now sleeping at night. I had got rid of all of my commitments to the point where I had the free time to do a few of the leisure activities that I liked within my cost structure. I had cut my expenses all the way down to the point where I no longer had to worry about not living beyond my means. I had parked all of that excess debt into a conglomerated long-term repayment schedule to get that off my mind. I cored down the group of friends who were like-minded and thinking like me and friendly with my family to just a small group of people to hang out with. And I had a nice, comfortable, simple life. Now I was ready to fire my job. And I mean that, fire my job. I was ready to fire my job because I had sorted everything else first. Now, while I was doing that, while I was doing all that, I had spent time thinking. what it is that I really wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a part-time professor. What did I need to get that? I wanted to be a published author. How do you do that? I wanted to be an entrepreneur. How do you do that? I was an Army officer, right? Like entrepreneurs and Army officers generally are not always the same type of individual. So how do you do that? This is what the life journey that I went down and trying to figure out that path. So when I got to the start point, I had everything that I wanted to do. I had transformed my ideas. I had completed the extra education I needed to do the part-time professor job. I had written a book and sent it to an editor and got it back, and I launched that unpublished. And then I launched a company. And then I figured out how to incorporate in Canada, and I launched a company, and I got a website, and I got some products, and here I am. And I'm learning to be an entrepreneur. In my first 3 years, I lost money. This year, I'm making money. It is a journey that you're on. And the hardest part was making that choice to change. The hardest part was looking myself in the mirror and accepting the fact that this couldn't continue. That the current life of being so tired and so exhausted that you can barely function, I can't keep doing this. Accepting at the same time that no one else is coming to fix this for me. Nobody can. Not my wife, not my family, not my kids. Nobody can fix this for me. I had to fix it. If there was going to be a change, it had to be me. I did it the slow and methodical way. I didn't do the rapid sell everything into a couple of backpacks and tour the Europe. That's an option, but I went with the slow, methodical. My plan was exactly 7 years. 7 years it took me from the day that I looked myself in the mirror, and I can remember that day. It's as clear as day right now. I can remember looking in that mirror. It's just a bit emotional when I think about it, because that was a tough part of my life. I was about as low as you can get, and buried in everything from emotional baggage to financial baggage to everything else. And then to realize, you know what? I got to fix this. And then I went on a journey, and here I am today. And so my message to you is very, very simple. You've got to want to make that change. You've got to want to realize that what you're doing now is unsustainable. Nobody can tell you how to fix it. Nobody can tell you the process to fix it. I told you today the process that I followed. It doesn't perfectly fit in line with what the Dave Ramseys of the world or the Jocko Willnicks of the world or the David Goggins of the world will tell you is to be done, but it's what worked for me. I love my vision board. I still use the concept to this day. I build a 1, 3, 5, and 10-year strategic plans for myself and my business using the vision board. I love it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. But it's about you looking in the mirror and understanding that nobody's coming to fix this for you, and the hardest part is the change. It's the same message we talk about in preparedness, to wrap it back to the intent of the channel. We know that when significant events happen, the public sector and the government can't come rescue you. They don't have the ability to rescue you at scale in significant events. It will be you and the relationships within your community you've built, which will determine whether you and your family are successful or not. And that only occurs when you are in charge. When you are in command and control of yourself, then you're in a position to help other people. This is why the change is so important. This is why I've spent near 45 minutes talking about my journey to hopefully offer to you an idea that absolutely without question you can most certainly make that transformational jump. I did it slowly, really slowly. Some do it rapidly, but if you don't do it, you will get eaten alive. And it's not a good recipe. So thanks again for joining us this week on Inside My Canoe Head. I am your host, Dr. D. Drop over to our website, www.preparednesslabs.ca, where we have all of our offers and everything that we've got on the go there. The website, the podcast itself has its own website over at www.insidemycanoehead.ca, because we are Canadian and you've got to use your own home lettering. Everything is there. And if you like what you hear today, I ask that you do one single thing for me, and that's you tell somebody else about this podcast. We are here to help. It is free, always will be. We're over 250 episodes in telling people how to adopt a prepared life. Wrap yourself in an insulation, a blanket of preparedness, so that you can chase your dreams. You can rock an incredible life in the middle of the chaotic 2020s. That's what we do here at Inside My Canoe Head, to give you that free guidance. So take what you will. Hopefully something today resonated with you and our previous episodes. Drop us a line. Tell us what you think. Tell a friend. Take care and stay safe.